All right, welcome everyone. Season 2, episode 12. Rammer, how was your week?
Been a little long at work, but we only got one more day, so.
Yeah, getting busy, eh? Construction season. Everyone wants to buy
We had
windows.
like our biggest machine in the place too that was down for 6 weeks, so
Oh, right.
we're moving all our sheets of material by hand. So, and it's my job now to get all the extra sheets that we've had for 6 weeks that didn't get into the system.
Oh.
It's been fun.
Perfect. So you got a promotion. Well,
I
that's
should.
great news.
Yeah. Sponsorship to get me to Newfoundland.
Yeah, so are you going to come or what?
No,
I
I'm not
think you're
going.
feeling...
No,
Yeah, you're
no.
going to be there.
I looked at flights. It just doesn't work for me. I'm too cheap.
You know what? I mean, I'm going to say it. Just stay at work maybe 2 hours longer a night, a couple days a week, get a little bit of overtime.
I barely make it till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock most days, so I don't know if overtime is the answer for this problem.
Definitely not something that you want to entertain.
No.
Right. So this past weekend there was a great women's event in Regina, Lady Boss of the Toss. They had women from four provinces, right? BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario. Yep. Huge added money to the pots. I mean, the winning teams won some great cash, and there were some great games. I was watching a couple of matches on the Saturday in singles. I think it was in the finals. It was your old partner there from Calgary, Kathy, against Demera, and I think it was game one. Kathy had the queen seat, so she's at 15-4, I think. And Demera goes on a run of 18 straight bags and takes game one. Yeah, I was watching her, and it wasn't just running the hole either, because she was trying to make something happen. So she'd throw a block, and Kathy would just kick off, and she'd collect it, and hit an airmail, and then bring the last bag in or whatever. And it was really awesome. Unfortunately, well, I guess fortunate for Kathy, she couldn't keep that going in game two, and Kathy took down the title. So, but I thought it was just a great performance. I mean, 18 bags in a row is pretty impressive.
Yeah, not something you see every day, that's for sure, in the game of cornhole.
No.
But Kathy getting the win, that's a good one. That's my partner from Calgary. She's definitely shown up at a lot of these big events and done well. I know she doesn't end up playing all the opens, but when we're out in Calgary 2 times, she's been there and playing this event here. It looks like she's gotten some good results this season.
And what did she in women's singles in Calgary? She had the queen seat, eh?
Yeah, I think Crystal got her.
Crystal got her, yeah.
I think double dipped her in the finals of that one in Calgary, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, she had it. And then, how did she do in open singles? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, no. I'm not quite sure. I know in doubles, I think we went 4-2 or 5-1.
Yeah.
We were in tier 1 and we lost both our games. We lost our first game was Farrell and Patutski, and our second game was Carl and Geoff.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah,
2
great
easy
draw.
ones.
Thanks.
Yeah.
They were both close. I think the first one we lost Farrell and Patutski, I think was like 21-15 or 21-14. I think at one point we had the lead, and same thing with Carl and Tremblay. I think we had the lead at the start, but then they kind of went on a roll there and got us. I think that one was, maybe 21-9 or 22-9, 22-8, something like that. But we went out to a good jump, and then they went rolling.
Yeah, what can you do? That's cornhole, eh? Sometimes.
Kathy's a great player.
Oh, she's a fantastic player.
He can play.
Yeah. And then in doubles, Crystal Bittman and Demera took down doubles. Kim Lowe, who's from Saskatchewan, and her partner Lynn, ACL Canada Pro, Lynn Ladouceur, they took second. So I think it was $2,000 for first or something. I forget exactly, but it was big money anyhow. I have it written in my other book, not this one. But yeah, no, it was big money. They added money out there to try to get some talent, and it definitely worked. We had 3 ladies from Ontario head out there: Simone, Christy, and Lynn. And yeah, it was. It looked like it was a fun weekend had by all.
Does that sound like it's going to be an annual event?
Yeah, they already saved the dates for next year.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so the guys out there are also hosting a non-affiliated event in June 8th, I think, called the Prairie Throwdown, and they've added about 10 grand to that event as well. So
Okay.
they're definitely looking to get some high-end teams out there, but we'll see what happens. So I mean, I think having it just as an independent event definitely opens it up for the ACL pros to be able to go try their luck too. I know June's a bit busy for us in Ontario especially, but some of the West Coast teams might take a crack at it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that.
Oh, are you thinking about going out there now? I saw the wheels were spinning. Okay, I'm not going to Newfoundland. I wonder what a flight to Regina will cost.
I don't want to go to Regina. No offense, guys.
You know what I've learned is that if you say no offense, there's a pretty good chance they're going to take offense. Yeah. Oh, what happened there?
We went black.
Whoa. What is going on?
Did you lose power or what?
No.
There we go. Back in action.
Yeah. Blooper. You know what I did was my big fat toe hit the side of the power bar, turned it off. I just want to give also big ups to Nyan's lawnmower this week.
Oh.
He was busy cutting his grass on Monday, which is probably a pretty big day for him. Tuesday. And he was just minding his own business, listening to a podcast, cutting his grass. When his back started to feel a little bit hot, he turned around and the back end of his mower was ablaze.
Yeah.
So it burnt to the ground in his driveway. So, we're thinking about you.
We need to get a tombstone for him or something.
Well, I'm not sure if you'll ever move the lawnmower. I mean, I'm sure that's at least a few days off. I mean, it was a big enough day just waiting for the fire to burn out.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, so, asphalt driveway too, so I'm sure there's going to be some work to do there.
Fun.
Oh, the poor bastard.
So couldn't happen to a better guy.
We're talking before we went live, but you're saying Southwestern Ontario, big push for points end of the season. Top 64 event is in Simcoe, plus, the Clash of Champions. That's an event we added for kind of like a winner of all winners.
Yep.
And you guys are having some great regional events to kind of end the season here the last, 2 months.
Yeah, so kind of being around the boards a little bit more over the last few weeks. Definitely seems like that push for points is on to try to get into that top 64 and to, maybe try to sneak out a last minute win to get yourself into that Sunday event, that tournament for the all the champions there. Yeah, we've talked before. We weren't quite sure how this end of the season was going to play out. Previously in our top 100, it kind of seemed like people push for points to get into that event, or so we've got 3 months left of regionals, May, June, and a little bit of July if you can get one in. We'll see how it all plays out, but I know a lot of people in this area are definitely looking forward to having that top 64 in the area here down in Simcoe.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's a great venue there. You guys had an event there last year. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a big building, lots of room, pretty easy to get to it, and it's kind of in the middle of a lot of places. It's kind of in the middle of where a lot of clubs play out of, like there's Brantford and KW, and the Niagara guys are there. Then we're not too far away either. So there's a lot of clubs in the area that can get there relatively easily. I know you guys in the north, and the people live on the border of Montreal. Like, you got to drive. I know we've heard this all before.
Yeah, no, it was definitely it's definitely a good event for you guys, being nice and close there. I think it should be good because I mean it's not only the top 64, right? If you went to the first one and you go to the second one, you're invited as well.
Yep.
Plus the Clash of Champions, lots of events for everyone. Go check out ACL Ontario.
What do we got on
Facebook.
the Friday? The blind draw, right?
Friday's the Memorial blind draw. Yep.
Perfect.
Yepers. No, it's gonna be that'll be a fun weekend, kind of end of the summer before. I kind of like it being end of August better. Start of September when being dads when the kids go back to school. We're kind of busy with kind of trying to get them back into routine a bit there. So I think.
Yeah, I think there's that, and just like it's kind of when all the directors start getting together, like getting their stuff together to start running their leagues again, right? So a lot of leagues will start before the actual ACL point season starts.
Yeah.
Get a couple weeks in, whether they be warm-up weeks or, you want to get depending, if you do season play, you might want to try to get in a season before Christmas or however that works out. But I know in September, that's kind of when cornhole gets, near the end of September is kind of when cornhole seems to get back into full swing.
Yeah, no, that's what I do. I usually run 2 weeks in September, try to run a couple weeks for free or 1 week for free, try to entice some new players to come out. And then we're ready to go once October 1st hits.
Yep.
We're going to get joined here in a few minutes by Todd Kisicki, the Chief Development Officer from the ACL. Todd has a real passion for Canadian cornhole, as well as, growing the game internationally. He's one of the guys over at the ACL that have definitely helped spearhead ACL Canada, and has been a great champion for our game as well internationally with the CCF, etc. Right? I mean, helping not only us but other countries too. There he is.
Guys.
Hey, how's it going, Todd? We can see that picture behind you of you kissing the cod there. That's great.
I know. I love the graphic. What creativity. So yeah, I've got that one. I've got I think a couple others from some of the Canada events over my right shoulder here, Drummondville, Niagara Falls, and then I've got Kevin up there from his trip to Australia. So.
Oh right, yes. Kevin and Connor went to Australia, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So Todd, doing?
Oh, we're doing good. The weather's starting to finally get better up north. I live about 300 miles further north than James, so he's been living the good life for a while. But I still had snow on May the 2nd. It was gone May 3rd, so we're in the clear.
Oh man, well we're entering our hot months. I think we're hitting 100 degrees Fahrenheit this week for the first time down here in Arizona.
Yeah, I think I'd rather snow. Rammer?
Snow and ice. Get the skates out.
Yeah.
So why don't you just give us
a beach body, and then it's not going outside in the.
That ain't me.
Yeah. No. If you're Guillaume Tremblay, then you're all right, eh?
Yeah. Save some of the girls for us, Guillaume.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Todd, why don't you give us an idea kind of how your cornhole journey got started and what kind of led you to, meeting Matt and kind of, helping him along the way with ACL Canada?
Sure. Yeah. I can go into it. Before I start that, I do want to just, I know I've reached out to some people individually, but wanted to just pass along, my sympathy to the cornhole world in Canada for the passing of Nick. I've met him a couple times at events over the years, and just such a great guy. Just always seemed to have a smile on his face. So I know it was a big loss for your cornhole community up in Canada. So
thanks, Todd.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So. But yeah, in terms of my history, I started, I think the story is pretty similar to so many other people where they just kind of started in their backyard, playing and start to seek out leagues and whatnot. And it got to a point where I ran an event and really enjoyed that part of it. I tried to play for a while, and at one point I was good in my area, but that quickly went downhill as I started running more and more events and couldn't keep up with all the practicing. So this is back. I just had my 10-year anniversary of my first event. So I started in 2015. Didn't really know too much about cornhole outside of the U.S. For a while until the Worlds in 2018 in Philadelphia, when a group of Canadians went to Cherokee. I remember briefly meeting them, and then again in 2019 when they went to Philadelphia and competed in an exhibition there with some Australians who came over, and then the U.S. players. Not long after that, we were kind of talking about, what does it look like to start reaching out and working with other countries to develop cornhole in their sport, with Canada obviously being, so similar to the U.S. and a lot of the sporting areas. So Stacy Moore, the CEO of ACL, asked me to, if I wanted to head up kind of the international development. I said no, I said yes, but this was when was it? So I started this officially January 1st, 2000. And then you know what happened about 10 weeks later? The world shut down.
Oh, right. COVID. Yeah.
We had to pivot quickly. So how do you start a international movement in the middle of a pandemic where you can't even get on a plane or whatnot? So, luckily we pivoted quickly to the virtual game.
Right.
And that's where I really, had those virtual meetings with so many players in Canada and then in Europe as well, and some in South America too. And, so it was kind of cool to see that go, especially when we're watching some of the Canadian baggers throwing in 3 feet of snow, and they've got a little area plowed out for their court, and they're measuring in the snow and whatnot. It was great, but that was really, the kind of a blessing in disguise, because we were able to get so many people from around the world together virtually to start interacting, communicating. We did some pro and amateur exhibitions, or pro and international exhibitions. So those were really popular as well. And that's really where it started to kind of grow. And that's where I met. I knew Matt had been around for a couple of years with the ACL. He's one of the directors. And then, meeting people like Michael, Neil Zarek, obviously, Geoff, I've known you for several years now and whatnot. Brandon and Tracy, they were big parts, Jamie and whatnot. So,
yeah.
So, I got to meet all of these kind of early pioneers in the sport in Canada. And then in 2021, 2020 still, when we were able to somehow pull off Worlds. I know there was such heavy restrictions with Canadian players coming over, and then having to, not necessarily coming over, but getting back, where they had to, wait for a week and kind of in seclusion. But Brandon and Tracy and Dean Lang were able to come over, and so I was able to then put faces and names and see people in real person and whatnot, and just kind of grew from there. That's really when Matt, I started working more closely with Matt too, and he really started to get the ACL Canada more structured, in a more structured way there, and we started to work on planning some bigger events up there, with Niagara Falls being, a really easy destination, because it's so close to the U.S. side, and it was such a destination spot So, we did that in 2021. I think it was April of 2021. Really didn't have any idea how the turnout would be, and it ended up being really really popular. I remember that event. We were able to have a production crew up there, have a pro invitational with U.S. pros and Canadian pros, where the pros that year had all qualified virtually, which was
Yeah, that's right.
was fun way. We'll be able to look back at that and smile. So that was pretty cool. And then just that kind of spiraled from there, and then the sport really started to take off in Canada. I was back in 22 doing the Canadian Open again, and saw an increase in participation that year as well. So then, at this point, Matt's really stepping up, his efforts there. He starts to take over more of kind of the leadership role in the country, and starts planning opens himself. And so he did Niagara Falls again in 23, and then also got to do St. John's, which was great. I'd never even thought about going to St. John's until I started hearing more and more about it, and communicating a little bit with Sean and Amber up in St. John's. So I went up there, and had the time of my life. I think there was a good deal of Ontario players who also made the trip too, if I remember correctly, and them surprising a screech in for all of us, which is kind of a tradition up in Newfoundland. Was just a memorable experience, and that's where that picture is from right there. I'm lucky that I was the one who got to kiss that fish first, at least that night. I had heard after the fact that fish had made its way around the block a few times, but at least for that moment in time, I thought I was the first one to kiss it. So yeah, then yeah. And then last year, being more of a full year of 5 events, and being able to go to Drummondville, and see the work that Daniel and Pascal are doing in that area, the talent in that area, certainly with Guillaume and Carl being really high level players, getting to meet them, making it out to Calgary as well, that was a beautiful country, and a little bit easier travel for me as well. So, really enjoyed that. I haven't been able to travel a whole lot this year yet, but just those places that I've been to in Canada, and to be able to watch the talent grow over the couple years, last few years, has been pretty remarkable. So. On the international side, then we've got the players who are traveling to Europe, and we talked about Connor and Kevin going to Australia. But really, I remember meeting Dion. Well, actually, I met Dion in Niagara Falls when we did the qualification for the highest level pro. Or highest level Canadian who went in singles was awarded a pro spot.
Yeah.
And didn't know Dion at all, didn't know the Newfies at all. And then all of a sudden I got introduced to them real quick when I announced that Dion qualified, and the place erupted. I mean, it was like I was totally caught off guard, but it was so cool to kind of catch that, and that really kind of encapsulated the Newfie spirit right there. But yeah, we've had 4 events, 4 ACL Europe events, like main season-ending events over there. The first one in the Netherlands, we had Bernie and Dion, Albert, and and I met Rick there as well.
Yeah,
Rick Wiersma. The next year, Bernie and Tracy and Brandon, and then Nyan and Dave Dean also went there. So. Nyan, I'm sorry for your loss as well with your lawn. Italy, Dean Lang showed up with oh gosh, I can't think of his name
Danny
right
Seals?
now. Yeah, there you go, Danny Seals. and played in Italy. And then last year in Trier, there was a good chunk of Canadians who went. I know the Canadian Cornhole Federation did worked tirelessly to help raise some funds for the Canadian national team to make its way over. And so the amount of Canadians who are traveling and really kind of buying into this international movement, this global movement, has been cool to see. And then from what I understand, there's a good number of players who are going over to Croatia this year as well. So
yeah, we got. I mean, the team plus probably another 6 minimum, I would say. Our good sponsors at ACL Canada and CCF, Winging It Wings, they sponsor the pro jerseys, and they're sponsoring Team Canada as well. Kim and Glenn, they've been great contributors to cornhole in Canada also. But they're heading over to Croatia too to watch and play a little bit. So we should have a good contingent out there.
that's great.
No, it should be really good. And we're kind of we're excited about this team. We're taking 3 men, 3 women, so we're gonna see if we can do some damage. And I mean, I've been watching a bit of European cornhole as well, and those players are definitely also getting better. So I mean, it's not like it was 2 years ago where there was only 4 good teams. Now there's going to be 12 good teams. So it's definitely getting more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Todd,
Sorry, go. Yeah.
Are you happy with where we're at right now in Canada? Is this where you kind of saw we would be, 4 or 5 years into the program?
Yeah, I think the growth, and Matt and I meet a couple times a month to talk about it. I'm just looking at the amount of players who are playing. It is where the U.S. is still gradually inclining. Canada is making, you can tell, if you were to chart it out, you could tell that Canada is growing even faster than U.S. right now, which I think is normal with the growth of the sport. But yeah, definitely happy with it. I think there's obviously still a ton of work to do. As we saw in the U.S., cornhole kind of trickled from east to west, and we're kind of in that same period right now with Canada, where it's really that you can just tell the number of players in the eastern part of the country, Ontario and whatnot, and in Newfoundland. And then it's started to gradually pick up over the last few years as you trickle west. So I still think there's lots and lots of growth to be made for sure.
So when you first kind of when Stacey approached you and kind of thought that an international expansion, and then obviously with Matt kind of being on the forefront up here, I mean, did you think that one day and I mean not only Canada but Europe as well, right? I mean, how many opens are there in Europe now? I think you guys have
I think maybe 13, 14 this year or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, we're looking at, almost 20 international, I mean, and then with Australia, so over 20 international opens. I mean, in a relatively short amount of time, right? You have seen this expansion. I mean, was that really, was that something you thought would happen that quick, or did it kind of all just grow exponentially?
Yeah, it really, no, I mean, short answer is no. I didn't anticipate this. I've been super fortunate to be able to work with some really solid people, just go-getters, people who are great ambassadors for the sport in Canada, in Europe, and in Australia. I have conversations weekly with people in South America and Southeast Asia, and even here and there in Africa. So those conversations are slower because they're at a different spot. But even seeing some of, whether you go on social media and you see cornhole Indonesia or cornhole Argentina, and the growth that they're attempting to make and introduce the sport into their country is pretty great. Especially, I had no idea what I was doing when I started. When Stacy said, do this, or asked to do this, I was like, okay, and then just kind of had to wait for emails to come in and start working. And I'm still not there yet to where I want to be. We've certainly got a lot of additional resources that we can develop for new directors to help them. I know both of you are directors, and you probably made a lot of mistakes early on in your, in your directing career. I know I did. What we've been trying to build over the last 12 to 18 months is a lot of those resources that will close that gap, so that directors can hit the ground running a little bit faster. They don't have to worry about or at least they can have education on how to approach a venue, entry fees, prizes, payouts, things, all of that stuff that we kind of fumble through as we get started as directors. Try to hand them a package, but there's certainly hurdles that come with that. Is language barriers and things like that. Every area is a little bit different. Where North America, both U.S. and Canada, are heavy into cash prizes for payouts. Europe has started more to where they do some cash prizes at the top levels, but they do more prizes at the lower levels, where they bring in their culture. They bring in, if it's Italy or if it's Croatia, they're bringing in some of their culture into these prizes, which makes it pretty entertaining to see some of these different prizes that are offered. But it's cool. It kind of creates that FOMO type thing when you are looking at the events to travel to. Oh man, I can. Plus, they usually have much cheaper beer there than the U.S. and Canada. So.
Yeah, that's what Steve James is excited about, the beer.
Probably save a flight. Yeah, yeah, you could probably save your flight cost and the amount you'll save in beer over a weekend. So
that's great. Yes, I mean, you were going like all those directors' resources. I mean, developing that stuff and putting it out there, that's not free, and that just goes into the ACL investing in itself, investing in us as directors, and originally investing in Canada. And I mean, really, we might be more self-sufficient now, but I mean, there's still the ongoing investment in Canada. I mean, there are some paid employees living in Canada that the ACL pays to help keep things going, whether it's social media, the live stream national director, as well as the player memberships. Directors are earning commissions off of those. Just touch base on the kind of investment that the ACL has put into Canada.
Yeah, I mean, it's in some areas you could slap a number on, and in other areas, like you said, it's time, it's effort, and whatnot. So just initially, supplying Matt with a decent amount of equipment to where he could run some of these large events, and then and also sell for those who are interested in having like a pro set of boards or something like that. Being able to supply Canada, Europe, Australia with some kind of to get going type equipment, so that they can start running these, and so that players can experience pro level sets of equipment, so that they really know that there is a big difference between what they might find at a sporting goods store versus really competitive or professional cornhole. So that's certainly one area, but then trying to over the years enhance our streaming up there, introducing teams, ACL Canada Pro teams, which I failed to mention earlier has been. Matt has just done an amazing job with that. We have a local, our ACL designer created the logos, but Matt did a lot in terms of the jerseys and design and bringing that all together. And then to watch the camaraderie that I see with those Canadian teams when I was in Drummondville, when I was in Calgary, that was worth the trip right there. Just seeing all of the players and the players getting together for group photos, and then the real friendly banter between the teams. But then at the end of the day, everybody's going out together and having dinner, having a drink together. That was a huge win for ACL Canada. So that, but and then we do have obviously the memberships, and we want to reward our directors to who are getting members, signing up under their clubs. And we know that equipment's expensive, tablets are expensive, venues are expensive. So being able to, slice off a piece of that, to where a chunk goes to the ACL, and, and that gives us the opportunity to reinvest in the sport, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S.
Yes.
But then also, in Canada itself, for those Canada memberships, that then goes to help reinvest into the Canada market. It allows directors to earn some additional commission on the side, so that they can restock their boards, and if a tablet breaks, they can replace it, things like that. So it's and we're always evaluating that too, because we want to make sure that we obviously recognize directors and their hard work, but then also allow players to feel like they are part of and contributing to that director that they're so attached to, so and that they feel like they're supporting their directors. So, and I think that's one thing I think that we at the ACL probably could do a much better job, is really educating the public on where this money is going. It's going to this international global development. It's going to increasing our college and our high school awareness, increasing our broadcast. It's equipment testing. I got my hands on the bag tester for the first time this week, and I hadn't been at an event where it was at yet, and that thing is a very expensive piece of equipment, but trying to develop this fair game, fair play policy, to where if you go to different events, you're going to be playing on consistent boards. Your bags are going to be, as consistent within the parameters as they can be, so that everybody is kind of playing on an equal playing field. And then you just got to let the skill, take over from there. So before all this fair play stuff, I had excuses for why I was so bad, but now
I still got those.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think something really important was just the reinvestment, right? There's always those negative connotations, and it's usually social media, and everyone just thinks that everybody is getting rich but the players. And I don't think a lot of people understand that the reinvestment and the constant the expansion internationally, but also just the innovation, right? Coming up with this new stuff. That's not free, and just trying to lead and push the sport forward with the growth as well, because sometimes when you're seeing such huge growth, especially in Canada, it's hard to kind of think of the next thing, because you're just trying to keep up with what's going on now. And I think that Matt's done a great job with that, with all the opens, and like you said, with the pro teams, with our pro division. I think we're really starting to get some good legs under us with our pro division. The players are getting really good into the second year, and I can only see it getting better and better as time goes. But those are a lot of things, like you said, that the general public doesn't necessarily see. They just see the price of an entry fee and think that it's ACL's rich, right?
Yeah, and Matt has done an amazing job of trying to, be as cost effective as possible. But those, when you get to a certain level of event size, venue size, your costs just skyrocket, and shipping equipment from Ontario to wherever is obviously there's a cost that you probably don't necessarily think about initially when you're when you're setting something up. So but Matt has done just an amazing job of trying to be as efficient as possible, as lean as possible, because really the entry fees, even after payouts and whatever the director keeps back, oftentimes it probably doesn't even cover the cost of some of your overhead and your expenses, and and all of the extra things that go into it, whether it's signage or staffing, helping, paying people to load or unload if that's a thing, or venue cost, internet, things, all of those things, really, I think it's easy to lose sight of. But if if you're going and you're running a high level event, which I've been to a few that Matt have directed, and they're top notch. He's starting them on time. He's getting people through. He's making fair decisions. It's worth the price of admission for sure.
Yeah, no, Matt does an incredible job. I think me and Rammer both kind of started playing ACL at the same time, the same big events, and I mean, I've never been disappointed with one of Matt's events. Rammer, you?
No, it's been good. Yeah, Matt does a great job, and he's he's always willing to answer questions if you have them to, and just discuss cornhole. So I think Matt's a great person to have at the helm of this here in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, you two, I'm sure, know Matt better than me. He's quiet, but he's efficient and effective, and he's got to make tough decisions from time to time, and as any person in his position would. But I know he's making these decisions with the best interests of ACL Canada and Canadian cornhole in mind, so that it benefits the players as much as possible. So I agree. We've been able to build up, I think a nice level of trust between the two of us over the last several years. And while I don't hear from him, too often, other than maybe here or there, and then our pre-scheduled meetings, I know he's just cranking away in the background and making things happen.
Yeah, Matt doesn't like to waste too many words, right? You'll say them when they have to be said, but otherwise it's short and sweet. There's no sense. No sense diving too deep into something. And then I know that you were also pretty influential in, helping with CCF getting started, talking to Michael and getting him on board to kind of spearhead our international side as well, which, under CCF, we've, this is the third team we've put together under CCF as the, with Mike in charge. And, that was also, a great decision. Mike's one of the forefathers of ACL cornhole in Canada too, right? And obviously he's got a bit less time lately with, a young family. His wife is due in a month or so with their second child. So that's definitely put cornhole on the back burner a little bit. But I mean, he's also super good at just focusing his time and being, very efficient. Also great at making, decisions and being fair, but not beating around the bush.
Yeah, no, Michael's been great, and I know on the federation side of things, it's probably even slower, the growth than on the competitive side of things. So on the ACL side of things, so he's certainly patient with his work, and I know the whole group that works with him at the CCF is working for the players to make to make this thing we're doing, this cornhole thing we're doing, into one day an Olympic sport.
Yeah, and I think that's what drives it drives a lot of us that have interest in that, is just how cool would that be? And everyone that's ever made that team, that has been the highlight of their cornhole career so far. So that says something right there. Except maybe Dave Dean. So Nyan and Dave Dean are actually really good friends of mine, and we give Dave a hard time a lot about his performance in Paris, because if any of you want to go back and watch the video, it's on
Just
YouTube.
A little short.
But you'll see a man sweating more than I've ever seen him sweat in my life. And he said that after the camera was like right in his face, and he's just so mad because he's front boarded again, and then just pouring sweat, eh? So I'm not sure if that was his best cornhole moment.
Well, yes, yeah, and I was standing next to them when that happened, and yeah, I was not going over to offer any words at that moment, but that in that venue, we didn't have much air circulating. It was hot. It was it was toasty. I think I lost several pounds of just sweating it out, and it was funny because we played in the in the arena, but all the beer and all the food was up on the top on the concourse, so you had to climb these really steep stairs just to get up there and then come back down. Oof! It was I got leg workouts and cardio. Definitely sweated. I think the first day I showed up to set up and with jeans on or pants of some sort.
Yeah.
I went right back to my hotel and changed because I was like, I do not need these at all.
Just the sun in there. Yeah, no, I think Dave had a good time with his family, but maybe not a great time in that match to get to the finals. I know I was watching remotely, and I remember watching Brandon win that first one, and maybe some of the best cornhole I've ever seen Brandon play, and I was like, yes, this is looking good. And Bernie ran into a super tough competitor that was just kind of hitting the shots, and Bernie would just be a bit off, and then unfortunately we lost that one, and it was down to those two, and we all know what happened. But
yeah. If I remember, they were more mad at Bernie, so they wanted an easy game 3, so they didn't have to.
That's what they thought. They thought that maybe Bernie could make it so their game didn't matter, and then he put all the pressure on. Apparently, it was his fault.
Fun,
yeah. Just before we wrap it up,
then they ran into a.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say they ran into a Swedish team in Trier in Germany last year too, and I think it was kind of everybody got surprised. That was the first year Sweden was in the WCO championships, and they had some solid baggers there as well.
Yeah, it was close. Yeah, no, I was sweating watching that one. Who was I can't remember the last match because Daniel lost. Was it Dion and Morin?
Morin, yeah.
And they I remember Guillaume Morin gave up a couple late, and they stormed back and took it, to get us to the gold medal match. Yeah, that was good. Carl and was it Carl and Daniel and Paul and Connor?
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, Paul and Connor. Hey, Paul's good to watch. So calm. It doesn't seem like too much gets him gets him excited. And then when we had that international exhibition at Worlds, right? Connor and Paul almost took down Justin and Logan. I think it was 21-20. We were up big for a bit. That was the Great Canadian Hope, but it's coming.
It's close, yeah. Well, We're hoping to do another one of those this year at Worlds. We do have some Croatians and Slovenian players coming over. So we're going to try to. Monday night is going to be our international broadcast, the Monday night of Worlds. So yeah, I think we're, depending on how many Canadian players make the trip and Europeans make the trip, try to put something together there for to recognize both those countries and areas. So.
Well, I know Rammer's going to be in Charlotte.
Oh yeah.
He's got a wrestling show to go to there, so he's not going to be
not far.
What would
Cool.
you say, Todd, is just as we wrap up here, what is your biggest highlight of your, say, international cornhole career so far?
Ooh, there's so many. My goodness. It's tough. I've had as you can see, I take one picture from all my international events. I'm behind a few events from last year, but just to remember each of them and how different they were. If I think if I was speaking kind of like a broad terms, it would just be the people that you meet in whether it's in U.S., Canada, Europe, or Australia or elsewhere. Everybody kind of comes together because of the community part of this sport. It's just such a driving force behind playing, and it's really something that I don't think we've been able, and it's been able to be replicated outside of the ACL. I think the ACL's involvement in kind of being the innovators in the sport and the investment, putting the investment towards any area of the sport has really it's just something that whether you're another organization or what you really it's hard to replicate that without the amount of resources that the ACL puts into that. So from that standpoint, yeah, it's just being able to see that wherever you're from, whether you're in Drummondville where a lot of the players there are speaking French and you don't speak French, or in European country where they don't speak, they speak their language and not English, you can still walk up to the boards and fist bump somebody, wave, whatever, throw your 4 bags, they throw their 4 bags, and it's almost like a global language when you get to the boards, which is it's just really cool to see that. It's just fascinating. But
yeah, no, that's I mean that is the joy of sport too, right? People from all walks of life, super inclusive and brought together by a simple game that is easy to play but tough to master. Kind of brings everyone together in that giant community, which is now in large part thanks to the ACL stretched globally, and that's fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us, Todd. We really appreciate it. I think you gave a lot of good insight into kind of, where Canadian cornhole started for you, how you and Matt kind of got together and how Matt kind of moved forward with it from there, and the support and investment that, the ACL gives to us directors and players on a regular basis.
yeah, cool. Well, yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate kind of having the outlet to speak. I'm really excited. We do have some new ideas and innovations we're working on. We're not ready to talk about them publicly yet, but I know I'll be talking to a group of directors in the next couple weeks, and then doing more director-wide presentations as we get into the summer. And I think some of the changes are really going to be for the positive, whether you're in U.S. or not, across the board. And working closely with Matt and Tone in Europe to make sure that we can offer similar types of incentives, engagements, and I know Matt talked about the new player app that's in development right now. So those things we're all excited to introduce in the upcoming weeks and months, and as we get ready for the next season. So
awesome, thanks.
Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, thanks Todd. Have a great night.
Yep, appreciate it, guys.
Okay, no problem.
All right, bye guys.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
All right, Rammer, I think we'll just wrap her up there. That was great having Todd on. I think he definitely gave a lot of insight into, not only his history with cornhole, but just the investment that the ACL has put into Canada, and I mean not just Canada, right? Internationally, making this a global phenomenon with 13 opens in Europe. That's mind blowing.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you don't always recognize what's happening in the things you're doing unless it's right in front of your face. And talking with Todd there definitely gives perspective on some of the things that happen behind the scenes and how they are still trying to continuously improve the game that we all play. So Todd's been was kind of the first guy to reach out and really get Canada cornhole going with Matt. So definitely a big influence on what's going on here.
Yeah, no, I can't say enough good things about just I'm super passionate about cornhole. It has become, went from a camp game to a competitive game to something that, takes up a fair bit of my time in life, and a hobby that I really enjoy, like different aspects from the podcast to being a director to social media and everything in between, talking to players and organizing events. Obviously you and I are both very passionate about it. And it's so nice to hear from Todd and just kind of, know that we're going to keep getting that same sort of investment. If it's, like he said, time, money, whatever it is, right? Those, all those directors' videos, those are super educational for any new or old director to watch and kind of learn from. And there's always tons of stuff like that. And I've noticed this year that, Athena with the club engagement has put out a lot of, new stuff there. So player incentives and director incentives. And I just really feel like we're really on a great path right now.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about here in Canada, like we said plenty of times before, like we're still trending up the mountain here. So, there's still work to be done for sure, but we're definitely on the right path. And I don't know, where it's going to lead, but I'm sure good things are coming for us here. And it sounds like we're going to still consistently have the help from Todd and those guys there. So it's looking up for sure.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so next week we're gonna be a little bit early with our kind of pre-Newfoundland show. I'll try to get a final count on some pros later early next week. I think we're missing 8.
7, I think.
7. Oh, are you coming?
No, I'm not good.
Anyhow, we'll kind of break that up and see what's going through. It could be interesting, right? Because there's some pros missing that their partner's going, and they're saying, okay, well, we'll get a qualifier, but it might not necessarily be enough qualifiers for the pros. And sometimes the qualifiers partner with each other, especially a couple of noofs get in, that know each other. They'd probably rather play with each other. So there could be some good teams, but there's also some really good players that are looking for one. So it could be a bit of a mix up. A ragtag group could make the top.
Yeah, it's kind of the end of the this being the last Open, it's kind of the end of the pro season, right? Before nationals. So
yeah,
some people have their events in or don't have their events in, or, you know, they've made the 3 of the other 4. So I think kind of the last one is, you're going to see that from time to time, whereas some people are missing in some mixed up teams. But the event's always fun out there. It's in a great building. They always do a good job at setting up events outside of cornhole for us, with the screech-in and the pub night. And there's lots of things to do just outside of St. John's too, just to enjoy the city itself. So if you're still sitting on the fence, it's a tough one to miss.
that goes for you too.
Yeah.
All right, all right, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday, same time, 7 p.m., and we'll break down Newfoundland a bit. We'll be about a couple weeks out, but we're gonna get her done a little bit early. All right, Rammer. Have a good night.
See you guys.